welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk Philadelphia. And as seasons begin, seasons end. In today's episode, we'll be wrapping up the Flyers and the Sixers season, as well as continuing on with the Phillies start to their season. So with that being said, let's get right into the action. Welcome back. I'm your host, Braden Knapp, and I'm here joined with a full panelist here today. Here on my left, Tyler Farmer. How are we doing?
What's up, man? I'm doing good.
Awesome. And over here, we have the return of the man with the most aura on the show. That is Kevin Gamlin. How are we doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad to hear that. And over on the end, Chris, how are we doing today?
Doing good, man. Ready to talk ball.
Awesome. Let's get right into it. And we're going to be talking about the Flyers to start it off. The Flyers wrap up their roller coaster of a season. That is definitely, to say the least. Their final game is April 17th at the Sabres. At 7 p.m. They're ending hot, having won 5 of the last 8. However, with their winning, they've messed up a possible draft positioning. Well, and that has obviously, with their winning streak, has come with the firing of their coach, Tortorella. It's almost seemed like they've had shackles lifted off them once Tort left, and that showed once they started actually winning games and looking really good. However, as said there in the graphic, was that the best thing to do? I don't know, because you knew this team was not a playoff team when you sold a bunch of players at the deadline. Like, you knew that. You knew this team was not a playoff team. So I know it was great to see them winning all that the last few games, but now they kind of hurt them a little bit. But going over you, Chris, how do you feel about the end of their season?
You put it perfectly when you said they sort of had the shackles taken off them when they got rid of Tortorella. Because you're right, once that happened, they started playing better hockey. Guys, Michkov started getting more minutes, and, everyone knows how good he is. But overall, it was definitely an up and down season for the Flyers. There wasn't playoff expectations coming in, but then as they started going, they started playing a little bit better, and those were rising. But then, like you said, it was just a roller coaster of a year, a lot of ups and downs. Hopefully, the draft positioning was messed up a little bit from them playing well, but they've been playing hard the past few games, and overall, it should be a very, very interesting offseason.
Definitely, to say the least. Well, there's a lot of things that can happen for this team. As I said earlier, they got rid of a few of their players, so they have a good amount of cap space. So in this offseason, a lot of fans, I've been speaking with some fans, they want to see something. They want to see a move, especially with the center position that they need, and the goalkeeping. Obviously, Ersson has been good, but Fedotov, as the backup, and even without Ersson, there needs more there. And then also with their players and just more quality. Obviously, you have Travis Konechny and the really good guys, and then obviously we have Michkov, who's the star of this team. But you need more, and you need more around them. But with Michkov, you have this amazing asset to build around. And just going to you, Chris, I just named some things that are needs that the Flyers need to have. To you, though, what mainly does this Flyers team need going into the next season?
Absolutely, yeah. Just more out of individual guys, like maybe a little bit more from Bobby Brink or maybe a little bit more from Cates, but just a little bit more from the role players, because you're right. When you talk about Michkov, and they have some other up-and-coming studs too, like Owen Tippett, he was very good. Couturier's been there forever. But yeah, I would also like to see them go out and maybe get a good center, maybe keep running Ersson a little bit. I like him a little more than most. I think he's got a little bit of potential. But outside of that, just looking to keep improving the squad, obviously, in the offseason, more out of Michkov next year, because that's the big piece of this puzzle, and we'll see where it goes.
Just real quick before we wrap up, would you say it's most importantly to focus on the coach, or really finding that number one coach for them this offseason, or would you say it's somewhere else? What would you say?
I honestly agree. I think finding the right coach will be is bigger than the players, because I think they do have some of the pieces there, but getting that coach will definitely be huge.
Definitely. And that is all the time we have for the Flyers today's episode. And now we're moving on to the Sixers, who they have they've been a topic. The Sixers and their tumultuous 2024-2025 campaign. They finished 24-58, which is their worst record since 2014. It's just laughable. I mean, you just honestly have to laugh at it. It's the only way to get through it. Embiid, Maxey, George, and McCain, unfortunately, all their seasons have been cut short from injury this year. And this is their little fun fact. This is their first non-playoff season in 8 years. This has not been a very good year, obviously, at all for the Sixers. But to just look on the positive side of things, this year showed Sixers fans that there's a lot of problems with this team. And just because you have a lot of good talent on your team doesn't mean that's gonna lead to actual results on the game. At least to me, this shows that there's a core issue, at least fundamentally, with the management of this team. And that's where I think no matter what they do, they have to fix that. But let's just going over this season. How was it being a Sixers, or at least just watching the Sixers this season?
Well, first off, before you get into that, I want everybody to bow your heads because I'm going to say a quick prayer. Lord, I want to thank you for giving us the strength to get through this Sixers season. I want to thank you for ending this terrible season. And I put the fate of the Sixers in your hands because you are the only one that could fix them at this point. Thank you, Lord. All right, back to your regularly scheduled programming. I think, Braden, you hit the nail on the head, though, with the culture and the management of this team. It's been atrocious. And I think the success of any good organization, a sports organization, whatever, starts with good management at the top. And when you don't have that good management, it just all that dysfunction trickles all the way down into the players, the coaching, and just how the team runs. So they have to figure out up top the identity they want for this team and how they want it to go moving forward.
Definitely. And I couldn't agree with you more there, but bouncing off that, you're a big basketball guy. I know. You're a big basketball guy, Kev. To you, at least in your opinion, what do the Sixers need to do going forward this offseason, in your opinion?
Well, first off, I just want to state that I feel like it could have been worse if they actually got the 3 seed and would have lost in the Eastern Conference semifinals again. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that does them any well. Whereas I think this opportunity now that they have with this season ending like it did, you have the opportunity to get a good, solid draft pick. I mean, if Embiid's healthy or not, that's kind of like in the air. But you still have Jared McCain, Maxey. Who knows what happens to Paul George, to be honest. But you get some good talent in the draft, pair it with Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey, and you could actually have a good team going forward and have a chance to compete for a championship.
100%. And I'm glad you said that honestly, yeah, this was a terrible year. Obviously, they only won 24 games. That's not acceptable for the Sixers. That's not. However, as Kevin said, there's positive to this. And now they have a chance at Cooper Flag. I mean, we know with the NBA lottery how rigged it can be. And maybe there's a chance if Flag falls to the Sixers. I want to hear from you, Chris. How do you feel about the lottery and maybe who the Sixers should even target there?
Yeah, I think Kevin made a great point about how actually having this pick, because they probably weren't going to win the championship even if they did make the playoffs this year, but having this pick gives you an opportunity to get Flag. 10.5% chance to get it, which is higher. It's pretty high in odds, not the highest because they had the 5th worst record, but Cooper Flag would really change the direction of the franchise. He would get them back on a winning path, and to pair him with Maxey and McCain. Him and McCain both went to Duke, even though at different times, but there's that cool little connection there. But yeah, Flag would be ideal, and if the Sixers don't get the number 1 pick, I'll be very interested to see what they end up doing, whether that means drafting another player or trading it, because there's a lot of different outcomes for the Sixers.
There's, plenty of different outcomes come, but especially with the lottery, because obviously the chances of getting number 1 pick, getting Flag, let's be real with ourselves, especially if the NBA doesn't rig it, as they've done with some other ones, we're probably not getting Flag. Right now, we can maybe get the 3rd, 4th pick, realistically. Maybe we even stay at 6th or the 5th pick. However, there's some good guys. Trey Johnson, we were just talking about Malak, however, has not really looked the best, especially the last game, Duke's last game. Harper's real good, and obviously Constantinople, some players. There's tons of guys that we can go. I just want to pick your brain here. Who do you think, Kevin, of at least this draft that's not Flag, that the Sixers should target?
I like Dylan Harper. I like Ace Bailey, but the one that you just said, Constantinople, I really like that. The Duke connection, him and Jared McCain, and I think the way that he plays is like very similar play style to what the Sixers could use. Kankanubo's got a really good jump shot, can create off the bounce, and he plays both ends of the floor. So I think he would fit the team for sure.
I would love to see him, especially playing alongside. He didn't play with McCain, but obviously Duke connection, some chemistry, probably what the Sixers need right now, to say the least. Going over to you, Tyler, just going away from the draft with the Sixers, plenty of offseason moves that we talked about that could happen. Mm-hmm. What do you think that the Sixers should do, but not counting the draft, but offseason moves? Is it PG moving, Embiid going? What do you think?
I think when it comes to moving PG or Embiid, I definitely think that's going to be a challenge because those are two big contracts on two broke players at this point in their careers. So it's like, who's going to want to take on those contracts and also have to give up compensation to take on those contracts and take on, two what if players, if this, if that. So when it comes to moving those two, I think that's kind of unrealistic at that point. I think the best thing that the Sixers can do right now, focus on getting those guys fully healthy and then kind of look towards your own free agents, Andre Drummond, Kelly Oubre, Quentin Grimes, and figure out from those guys who do you want to bring back.
100%. You hit it right there. Keeping our players healthy, obviously Embiid with his whole spiel. But then we have another player, McCain, who we all know, we all love, especially before he got hurt with his knee injury. The Sixers, they need to deal with that situation correctly. Because if they handle that the way and they force him back like they did with Embiid, don't even want to go there. We do not want to go there. But as you said with free agents, there's a lot of free agents that the Sixers can re-sign. One big name is Quentin Grimes, who's been amazing this season, almost basically averaging over 20 points each time he plays. Kevin, how important is re-signing Quentin Grimes to the Sixers team?
I think that would be huge because he could start with the way that he's been playing. He could start, and then he could come off the bench too and be a really good six-man. I think probably like a six-man of the year candidate for sure. And you get that scoring ability, three-point shooting ability off the bench. You've seen that. That's what, like Peyton Pritchard for the Celtics, if he could play that role for the Sixers, like that would be amazing.
I mean, I 100% would love it. Peyton Pritchard has just stepped into an amazing player, and if he can do that, I mean, definitely no complaints, at least on me. Before we wrap up, going to you, Chris, is there anyone else that the Sixers, as you obviously said, Drummond, anyone else the Sixers that need to resign this offseason?
I would love for them to bring back Jared Butler. He was a good backup point guard for them, move they got from the Wizards. I think he's a very good second unit guy, can run the show, champion in college, so definitely Jared Butler guy I would like to see back.
I would love to see Jared Butler back. And that is all the time we have for the Sixers in today's episode. And now we're moving on towards the Phillies. And Tyler has met Taijuan as SportsTalk Philadelphia panelist watches in shock as Walker gives up 6 runs in the first inning versus the Giants in Game 1. The Phils rebound, however, in Game 2 versus the Giants, winning that game on Jackie Robinson Day. It's awesome to see. Harper and JT Realmuto, 1 home run and 2 RBIs each in a 6-4 win. The current series is a 4-game series with the Giants, and right now it is tied 1-1, and they play again tonight. The Phils have, well, let's start. They started the season real good, obviously, as the Phils should. However, since last episode, they've kind of hit a wall. They looked pretty bad against the Cardinals. However, that series was a little weird, especially that one game that literally ended at like midnight or 1 in the morning. There's been some weird things, but they have not looked the greatest. But at least last game, they come back on Jackie Robinson Day, and they get a good win. But going over to you, Tyler, you've met Taijuan and everything that comes with Taijuan. So I'm just going to give the floor to you and let you talk about it.
So I guess the best – so here's what I talked about this a little bit with you guys before that, there's a little saying that us as Ravens fans we have is that you don't know how fast Lamar Jackson is until you watch him in person. Then you go watch him in person, you come back, oh, my God, he's just fast as they come. I have a new saying. You don't know how bad Taijuan Walker is until you watch him in person because, my God, that was awful. It was like watching a quarterback throw 3 interceptions in a quarter. Watching him start, he's trying to get the out at second base. He completely whiffs on the pass 20 feet away from second base. and then like 2 hits later proceeds to give up a 3-run homer. The audience is booing. They're throwing hot dogs and glizzies at him. I mean, it was a mess. It was a mess watching him. And I got a bone to pick with y'all because y'all told me he was bad, but you didn't tell me he was this bad. It was so embarrassing to watch. And I'm not even a baseball fan like that. That was one of the most embarrassing performances I've ever seen as a sports fan.
He really got you, because just so you guys know, if anyone watching did not watch the game, the Phillies were winning, by the way. They were up in the game, 3-0, I believe. Well, Taijuan had a great first inning. He had 2 strikeouts. He looked good. And then, oh, no, doing his normal Taijuan thing and, of course, blowing the game for him. But I'm glad you were able to see his true colors, because you obviously didn't believe us at first, but you now show him. I just want to go over to you, Chris. Just obviously the Phils not been the greatest, but they bounced back a little bit. How have they been to you?
Yeah, I mean, last night was great to see. Big bounce back win. Harper, JT hitting those big home runs. I think that little slide before this series is just that. It was a little slide. I think they're going to come out of this. They'll be fine. They have too much talent. I think they're probably going to win this series too. If not the series, I think they'll win tonight. But overall, I'm still feeling pretty good. I like what I've seen from some of the top guys like Schwarber, Harper, obviously, even Edmundo, unsung guy. But overall, I'm feeling okay about the Phils.
I agree with that. Well, one thing to build off, at least for the game tonight, Nola, he's pitching tonight, and that's one thing to talk about. Obviously, he has not had the best of starts. Obviously, we know it's Aaron Nola, though. We know he's not a bad pitcher. He's a really good pitcher. But going into tonight, how do we feel about Nola pitching tonight?
Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, Nola gets a lot of unnecessary hate, in my opinion. I don't really, like I said, it's unnecessary. I mean, he had to start a couple weeks ago against the Dodgers where he went, I believe, 5 or 6 innings and only gave up 2 runs. And the fans were really annoyed with him because they lost and maybe he gave up too many base runners. But 2 runs over 5 or 6 innings is more than good enough to win you a game. And if he does that tonight, there's no doubt in my mind that the Phillies will win. I mean, maybe it's a theme with Nola. They just don't get him runs, and they'll get Taijuan runs. They'll get every other pitcher runs. But it just seems the offense sometimes, they lost that game 3-2. So sometimes it's not always Nola's fault. And I think as far as tonight, though, I think he pitches a pretty good game.
I agree. And we were talking off show a little bit when he was pitching against the Dodgers. And obviously in that game, he was really good. Obviously he did not win, but I mean, he held the Dodgers to barely anything. He's a very good pitcher, and then tonight I expect nonetheless. And honestly, kind of should or kind of have to. This needs to be a win this series, or maybe not a win, but at least 2 wins. I think is a must, is a mandatory for the Phillies, because jumping forward a little bit, the next 2 teams that they're playing are interdivisional. They'll be playing the Marlins and then going against playing the Mets, which are 2 very, very big series. Going over to you, Tyler, how big are these, at least early on in the year, these 2 series against the Mets and the Marlins?
Well, this is huge because, we talked early in the season, the Mets were kind of struggling. The Phillies got an early lead on them, but now here we are. The Mets are actually in first place right now. They're up half a game on the Phils. So it's very important that the Phillies come out against the Mets and they do good and they win that series. The Marlins are important to get that series as well too. And for the Mets, I mean, they're the team that knocked you out in the playoffs. So there needs to be a little bit of pride there. There needs to be a little bit of like, we owe this team that get back because they came into your house and knocked you out of the playoffs last year. So the Phillies need to come out with the right attitude and make sure that they handle their business against them.
They really do. As you said, there needs to be that fire, like that spark that fires them up, at least for this game. I mean, it honestly seemed like the Braves had that when they played the Phils. Like, the Braves had a terrible start to the year, and all of a sudden, Phils are in town. You know what? Like, they're actually playing good baseball. So I think even though we'll be away against the Mets, I think we can go to New York and definitely stir up. But going back to this series against the Giants, and as you said, Chris, a problem is, at least no matter who's pitching, even if it is Taijuan, we need a hit, and we need to hit the ball. And it just seems like sometimes this team can't do that. However, we have one player that has been doing that, and that is Kyle Schwarber. But tonight, he's starting at left field, which is really interesting. Me and Chris were talking about that before the show. It's interesting. Chris, I want to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, so the Phillies before the season said that Schwarber was only going to be DHing and that was just going to be his role. But I guess with some of the struggles of Alec Boehm and Brandon Marsh, he's forced their hand because Schwarber has been their best offensive player so far. In the field, obviously he's atrocious, so that's why playing him out there tonight is very interesting. But I think it's to get more offense and get more of other guys in the lineup. Like Rojas is also playing, Sosa's playing to get those righty bats some time. I think it's interesting. I don't know if it'll come back to bite them. Hopefully he just doesn't get a lot of balls hit to him out there, but definitely just a very interesting move from my perspective.
That's how I feel, because I'm a very big Kyle Schwarber fan. I have a Kyle Schwarber Phillies jersey. At left field, like, I don't know if, especially a ball. I mean, remember that one game when Sosa went and had that track down and he stole a home run? Kyle Schwarber's not doing that. Like, and that's just not his game. Obviously, it was done for offensive purposes, but it would definitely be interesting for this game. But you touched on a little bit of Boehm and his struggles. There was rumors of he was not even going to be on this team going into the year, and the Phils were shopping him, and they didn't like the offers, and obviously, like, look at him. He's been really bad. Do we think he can maybe bounce it back, or at least have hopes for it? What's your opinion on Alex Boehm?
I think he absolutely can bounce back from this. He was an all-star starter last year at third base, so he has that track record to back him up. Yeah, he does have the lowest batting average right now among qualified hitters, but I think a lot of it, he is just getting really, really unlucky. It's not like he's going up there and striking out every time. He's putting together decent at-bats. He's hitting the ball hard. He's putting it in play. They're eventually going to come and they're going to fall. So I do think Boehm can definitely work out of this.
Definitely, and I hope he can also work out of this. But now we unfortunately have run out of time to talk about the Phils, and we'll be moving on to our favorite subject, and that's Fast Five. But continuing with the Phils with Chris, and that is the biggest surprise on the Phillies. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I think this is a bit of an underrated take, but I think Jose Alvarado running away with being the team's closer is so important and such a good surprise, and it's been great for this team. Just some of his numbers so far: in 8 1/3 innings, he has a 2.16 ERA. He's got 14 strikeouts, and in 3 save opportunities, he saved all 3. So if he's gonna do this and be like that all season, man, that is such a weapon for the Phillies out of their pen to be their closer, because there's been some question marks about other guys in the bullpen, but he is not one of them right now, and hopefully he can keep up this dominance and keep it up all season, because they're gonna need it.
Definitely, and I hope Alvarado continues that dominance. Moving on now, we have, should the Eagles pursue Jalen Ramsey? Interesting, with Tyler Farmer.
Yeah, well, recently Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins agreed to let him seek out a trade. And when I think about the fit in Vic Fangio's defense, I think it would be a great fit, Jalen Ramsey being in that defense. He's not the all-pro level player that he was, in Jacksonville or his first couple of years in LA with the Rams, but he still can play at a Pro Bowl level. And considering you've lost Darius Slay, I think Ramsey at this point in his career is an upgrade over Slay at the point he is in his career. And then when you look at the division, you got the Giants with Malik Neighbors. They might also add Travis Hunter in the draft. You've got the Commanders, who are going to be at your heels, Terry McLaurin. They just added Deebo Samuel. So you're going to need another corner opposite Quinyon Mitchell that can help kind of limit the plays that these other offenses can make. And you look at the rest of the NFC, the Rams, they've got Devontae Adams and Nakua. You've got the Packers with their young receivers. You've got some really good receiving cores, and you're going to need a good corner on the outside opposite Mitchell. I think they should definitely go after Ramsey.
That would be an interesting move. I mean, I would love that. Are you kidding me? Jalen Ramsey in Eagles uniform? Love to see that. Moving on, we'll be continuing with me, and that is Union season continues. Union, unfortunately, their last game, they lost to NYFC 1-0. It was a very close game. It was their first game, actually, without Daniel Gazdag, one of their best players. It was a very close. It was a very close game. Obviously, NYFC came out 1-0 up top. But unfortunately, with this Union team, I just don't know what they're doing, because you give up arguably your best player to arguably the best team in your division besides Miami, but honestly, Columbus is arguably right now a better team than Miami. So you give them that, they don't even need them. Columbus won their last game without even playing them. So I still don't get why you get rid of one of your best offensive players in Daniel Gazdag, especially when offensively that is what the Union is lacking. They need someone up top to especially help them out and get some goals. But with this Union team, I honestly don't know where they're going to go. They want Kevon Sullivan, I know, to play and take over that Daniel Gazdag role. But I feel as though it was honestly forced, and their next game against Atlanta, I don't know how I feel about that. One of the best teams in the division. It's going to be tough for the Union. But moving on with Kevin, and we'll see, does Jason Tatum have aura? Let's hear it.
What is this question? Does Jason Tatum have aura? We could say he does right now. I don't know. I don't think he does though. Colin Cowherd would agree with me too. I don't know why, but yeah, we can say he doesn't have aura. But after the finals this year, he will have aura with a Finals MVP. He will have a ring on the finger or a second ring and a Finals MVP.
Interesting. You heard it here. That's interesting. There's a little preview to our last Fast Five question, and that is NBA Finals predictions with us all. So, I mean, we heard Kev real quick, but let's hear from Tyler. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I think in the East, it's got to be the Celtics until further notice. I'm in that kind of predicament now in the East. Until someone knocks off the Celtics, it's going to be the Celtics. With the Lakers in the West, I do like them coming out of the West. LeBron and Luka, both going to be fully healthy and rested going into the playoffs. They're the best duo in basketball, in my opinion. And when I think about who do I think is going to win, sit back, kick back, watch LeBron get his lick back. Lakers in 5.
Well, you heard it, Lakers in 5. We heard a little. We still thinking with Celtics, or yeah, let's hear it.
Celtics will make it to the finals. The Celtics, they'll make it there for sure. I think Cleveland's light work. I don't think Cleveland's that good. So I think the East is going to be easy. But in the West, I think they're all just going to beat each other up. It's just going to be this similar as last year. I don't think the Lakers even make the finals. I'm taking SGA. I'm taking SGA to go to the finals. The Thunder lose to the Celtics in 5.
Ooh, we hear that. How do you feel, Chris? We on the Lakers train? Or?
More of a Tyler sentiment. On top of having LeBron and Luka, they also have their defense has been unbelievable. The storyline of J.J. Redick's first season being as good as it's just been great to see. So I will also have the Lakers beating the Celtics, but not in 5. I think it'll be a 7-game series, and it'll be one of the best finals we've seen in years.
I couldn't agree. I just wrap up. I'm also on Team Lakers. I think, unfortunately, the Lakers will get there facing the Celtics, but unfortunately, that is all the time we have on today's episode. And if you would please check out our socials at SportsTalk LTV on X and Instagram. And please stay tuned next week. Obviously, we unfortunately are losing 2 of our sports teams with the Flyers and the Sixers, but we'll be bringing back the Eagles with the draft upcoming and seeing how they handle that. Thank you, and stay tuned.